Hello and welcome to the Super Rugby Round 13 preview brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion. And joining me this evening, all the way from South Africa with his unique and deep insights, is the one and only Pillar from Grit Sports. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well, Paul. How are you?
Not so bad. You're looking very refreshed after your holidays. That's all good. You're back, raring to go.
Yeah. The show on the road.
So, kicking us off this weekend is the Blues versus the Hurricanes. And the Blues welcome back Sonny Bill Williams and Tuangafasi. Do you think that's going to make any difference?
Yeah, I mean it's great that Sonny Bill Williams is back and Tuangafasi as well. I think it gives them more depth now. The Auckland Blues. Especially in midfield. I mean, they've been chopping and changing for a while now, for the past couple of weeks, and now they kind of get a bit of stability when Sonny Bill comes in. And I see now Caleb Clark has moved on to the wing, so it should be interesting. But the way the Blues have been inconsistent, I don't think it'll be that big a difference, but it does at least make a little bit of difference for their side in terms of depth and experience. I mean, you can't excuse Sonny Bill Williams' experience for what has been lacking in the Blues so far.
No, absolutely. The one actually selection that I found a little bit surprising to note is that Collins isn't injured, and he'd been a very good, very stable presence at fullback. But he's not on the injury list, but he's not been selected. So clearly, and Matt Duffy has now switched to fullback. So clearly, they're looking for something a bit different than what Collins brings them. Caleb Clark on that wing is going to be interesting. And then, for the first time ever that I've seen anyway, Rieko Ioane on the right wing. Which
I don't know what Tana's thinking, but let's hope it works out for him. But I mean, I think. After last week's win against the Waratahs, the Blues should be pretty confident. I mean, they're playing at home, so I mean, looking at their record against the Hurricanes, I mean, their winning record is 50% currently against the Hurricanes. So going into this game, it should be 50-50. But
come on, do you have down there the last time the Blues beat the Hurricanes? Because I mean the Blues. Because the Blues.
The last 5 games, the Blues haven't beaten the Hurricanes basically. So
yeah, if we're going to go all the way back to Super 12 and when the Blues were good, that's where a lot of those 50% of those wins came from. I tell you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean that's where that comes from. But I mean you can't discount it. I mean at the end of the day, a stat is a stat. Right?
True. So one of the reasons that Rieko Ioane might be on the right wing is because of who will be on the left wing for the Hurricanes. Hat-trick try scorer from last weekend, Ben Lam, up against Rieko Ioane. That is going to be an interesting matchup because a lot of people are calling for Ben Lam to be in the All Blacks side.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's a trial game for the All Black winger for the inbound tour. So Ben Lam has to be on top of his game. Rieko Ioane has to be on top of his game, defensively and offensively. So both guys will be on show, basically. So it's a trial game for both of them. So whoever comes out on top basically gets that All Black jersey.
Well, we'll see. There's plenty of players here who will be looking forward to the squad announcement on Sunday. I mean, Naimel Scudder at fullback. Obviously, Bowden Barrett will also be in there, but Lamapi, we hope to be there, Proctor as well. Interesting that TJ Perenara has been is back on the bench, so he's not going to start. So they're going to start with Finlay Christie there. But still, for me, this is Hurricanes all the way. I'm backing the Canes by 15.
15. Sheesh. I mean, the score difference for the previous matches has been quite close. So the only difference has been like 3 points. So I'll stick with 3 points, Hurricanes.
God, you're much closer than me. You have much more confidence in the Blues than I do. Then we head up to.
Well, they've performed well against New Zealand sides. So even though they've lost, but they've they've dug deep. They've dug deep against New Zealand opposition.
Then we head up to on Saturday. We have the Sunwolves versus the Reds up in Tokyo. This is the Sunwolves' last home game in Tokyo. Their next two home games are in Hong Kong and Singapore. I'm not sure you really call those home games as such. So for me, this is their last chance of a win against the Reds. What do you think?
Oof. Oh, I misread that game. I thought the Reds were playing at home, but clearly the Sunwolves were playing at home last game. Initially I called Reds, but now I want to change my decision. But
So just a couple of selection things, just to let you know. 3 changes to Reds from the team that beats the Lions 2 weeks ago, because they're coming up a bye week, obviously. Kane Douglas will be his 100th Super Rugby cap in this time, and obviously they'll have someone like George Smith next to him. So plenty of experience in that Reds pack. Yeah. I'm not so positive about the Reds backs, mind you, and I think that's where the Sunwolves I think will have the upper hand over the Reds is in their backs, because the Sunwolves do have some exciting guys there.
I'll go with Reds. Reds by 7.
Wow, I'm going Sunwolves by 3, saying that I think this is their last chance to win this season, and I don't want them getting nilled, so I'm going to back them by 3.
All right, cool. I'll go Red.
We then have a rare Saturday afternoon game, which is the Crusaders versus the Waratahs. Ryan Crossy being rested for this one. Any complacency, do you think, from the Crusaders?
Nah, I think he does need some rest, man. He's been playing quite a lot. So, I mean, even Sam Whitelock, I thought they would rest him for this game, but clearly not. But I think Ryan Crossy, he needs a bit of rest. And I think Tim Bateman comes in.
That's correct.
In his position. Yeah, and then George Bridge at fullback, I think.
Now that is definitely George Bridge at fullback is definitely an attacking intent. It's going to be exciting to see him trying to.
What's wrong with him?
I'm not sure, because I don't see him down as injured. So this is I was surprised by that selection. But to be fair, Matielli has been playing very well. Tumanivalu has also been playing very well. So it's very difficult to keep them off the wings. And because they've been playing well, if you want to fit Bridge in, then it's going to be at fullback. So what's going to be interesting is those high bombs and Folau coming through, and vice versa. That aerial battle is going to be interesting. I'm not sure.
After what I saw against the Blues last weekend, I don't know what's going on with the Waratahs, man. It seems like they only perform against either South African teams or the Australian opposition. Because against New Zealand sides and the form that the Crusaders are in, I don't see the Waratahs beating the Crusaders at home. It's highly impossible. But in midfield will be interesting with Kurtley Beale and Goodhue. So I think Goodhue has stood his ground this season so far. He's stamping his authority, and he's worked well with Ryan Crotty. But it'll be interesting to see how he works on a starting with Bateman in midfield. But another thing now, Richie Mo'unga is back, so he gets the backline going. And seeing how the Crusaders performed last weekend, especially in the second half, that was an outstanding performance. It
was. So you've got to say, looking at this with Goodhue back, Mo'unga back, we've got Moody coming back into it. Sure, they're also missing Franks, but Moody's back now. A lot of their players are coming back from injury. Sure, we're still missing Kieran Reid. We're still this isn't a absolute first choice team, but it's getting pretty close now. It's not the missing 10 All Blacks that we had at the beginning of the season. This team's starting to ramp up now, and it's looking dangerous.
I know it is. They're starting to. Usually Crusaders start off. They always have bad starts in Super Rugby, but the way they get into the mix, like halfway through the season, is unbelievable, and we're seeing the results of that now. And they've had 6-7 games winning streak on the trot now. So, and they're leading the overall standings, and which is amazing to see, man. And a lot of teams can take a leaf out of what the Crusaders are doing in terms of continuity, in terms of stability within the structures of the team. But with the Waratahs traveling to Christchurch,
Well,
yeah, they might.
You talk about stability and continuity. The Waratahs have the exact same pack that lost to the Blues. And so there's stability there. Phipps comes in to partner Foley, and then you got Beale, Rona, Naravaru, and Callum Clark out on the wings, and Full out at the back. That's a decent back line, but against the Crusaders team,
the difference is they don't have any depth. They depend on those same players week in, week out for how many rounds in Super Rugby now? 16, 17 rounds. So, I mean, if eventually, I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is, but I don't know, man. Maybe they need one of the New Zealand expertise to just fly into Australia, teach them new things, new ways of doing things. Because clearly whatever they're doing is not working.
They'd argue they did that with Robbie Deans, and it didn't kind of work. So
not Robbie Deans. But I think they didn't give even Robin Deans enough chance, man, or enough time. But he was national coach. He didn't coach at a provincial level. I'm talking about provincial level. If they start working from there and then build it up onto the national team. But Crusaders, for me, yeah, I say Crusaders on this game by at least 10 points.
So I've gone Crusaders by 15. I think there are only two gimmies in this round, and that is the Hurricanes, the Blues Hurricanes, and the Crusaders Waratahs. Both those ones I think are fairly easy to call. Every other game in this round, to me, could go either way. This is the toughest round of games that I can remember having to do predictions for. I think it's absolutely crazy.
The nice thing is that it's because of these Australia versus New Zealand versus South Africa. When you mix it up like that, then it starts becoming, and seeing how other teams performed last weekend, especially the Sharks and the Stormers, then it starts becoming more interesting, I think, as well. And it starts becoming more competitive, too, as well.
Well, you had the Sharks, the Stormers, and obviously the Jaguares all stepping up last weekend.
Yeah. I mean, amazing.
So, and on that note, we go on that then to one of those teams that was over in South Africa, the Highlanders, having to If you try driving back from South Africa, you're going to get very wet. Travel back from South Africa. And they looked tired in South Africa, didn't they, in that loss? And they host the Lions. So, Aaron Smith, Lee, Hunt, all rested for the Highlanders. I think they need some fresh legs, don't they?
But I've seen something totally different from New Zealand teams when they travel back from South Africa. They get home and they start performing still. So, I mean, I remember the Hurricanes came back from here after losing to the Blues and then winning against Jaguares. Then they went back to New Zealand to play the Crusaders. And they totally dominated the Crusaders. And now the Highlanders are traveling back home. But the Lions should have settled by now in New Zealand. Isn't this this is their last game in Australasia, right?
So this is their fourth game on the trot. So obviously beat the Waratahs quite comfortably, lost to the Reds, then lost to the Hurricanes last weekend, but put in a good performance. They've lost Karl Marx though, not Karl Marx. Jeez, I keep saying Karl Marx. They lost Malcolm Marx. Sorry. Oh dear.
Yeah.
They lost Marx, and he's a big leader for them, and their line-out just fell apart last weekend when he went off the pitch.
Yeah, no, it's quite a big loss for the Lions. I mean, Malcolm Marx is very important at the breakdown, especially for the Lions. I mean, slowing down opposition ball, stealing opposition ball. I think he should be one of the leading.
He was leading the turnovers. That's right. Yeah.
On the ground. So, I mean, that's quite important for a Lions team that also wants to attack. I mean, turnover ball is quite imperative for them. It'll be interesting to see how they go about who they choose actually at flanker on their flanks for this game, because they would want someone to disrupt the Highlanders ball on the ground. So since Malcolm Marx is not there, so they'll look for someone to actually try and play that role for this game.
So what they've done is they've gone and put Quagga Smith to number 8. They've got Clyde Brink in 7, which is the blind side role because you guys use different numbering. And then they got Schumann at number 6 to come in and do that, to put that energy and the jackling in the open side role. I
don't know how I got him at 6, but because last week there was no difference after Malcolm Marx left. He carried more ball than actually stealing ball from the opposition. So I don't know. It's a tight one. It's a tough one to call, but seeing that the Lions have been in Australasia for so long, they should perform against the Highlanders who are travelling, I believe. But Highlanders are at home and they'll want to win this game after losing to the Sharks, because against the Sharks they looked dead and buried basically, and they didn't look interested. They didn't look like they wanted to be in South Africa actually. But it's a tough game to call, very tough game to call. The history between the two teams, they've only met like 18 times. So Highlanders have won 11, lost 7. And last year the Highlanders lost against the Lions. The Lions were playing at home. And the year before, the Lions lost to Highlanders in New Zealand. Okay, I'll go with Highlanders at home.
I've gone for the Highlanders at home by 3. And I've gone by 3 because I'd say they looked tired, as you say, last weekend. Or you say they didn't want to be in South Africa. I think they looked tired. The Lions, on the other hand, whilst they put in a better performance against the Hurricanes, haven't been getting the results overseas on their tour. So hence I'm going to go for the Highlanders. But I think it'll be a close one. Then we head over to Canberra for the Brumbies versus the Rebels. Christian Leofano, McCaffrey, and Valentine return for the Brumbies, so that's got to be good for them.
Yeah, no, they're playing at home in Canberra, so for me, I think I've been disappointed with the Rebels lately. They started off on a bang, but they don't seem to have continued with that success after losing in South Africa. I'm sure they'll be pretty disappointed with their performance so far. But the Brumbies, on the other hand, they've beaten the Brumbies in Melbourne. Yep. In the first game. But seeing the experience coming back for the Brumbies, let's go Brumbies for this one, because they're playing at home as well.
A bit more about the team. So, so Brumbies, obviously, got that experience coming back from the Brumbies, which is good. But again, they're another side, as you've been talking about lack of depth as to who's going to play afterwards. Rory Arnold, Sam Carter. There's some decent players in their forwards there. If we go across to the Rebels, though, now this is a different. This is a real problem for them. At number 9, starting Ruru, we have no Will Genia after his knee injury last week. And to me, he's the only name I bother looking for amongst the Rebels. I don't even look at the rest of the squad, because he's the key one. Still missing people like players like Dame Hamlet-Petty as well.
I think Genia has been phenomenal for the Rebels. Without him, you can see the difference, and they kind of struggle to get good going forward, and someone who makes good decisions on the deck, basically. And Genia has been that for them, where he knows when to box kick, he knows when to pass, he knows when to skip pass, he knows when to link up. He finds good space behind the defensive lines. So for me, Genia has been pivotal for this Rebel side, and without him, they kind of struggle, and they struggle hectically. And
well, let's be honest. Here we are. We're talking about the Rebels team. We've talked about the Rebels team here for about maybe 3 minutes, and we spent 2.5 minutes of that talking about a player that they haven't got, which tells you, I think that tells you everything you need to know. That without him, they've got some serious problems. Ruru just is not up to scratch for that. Debrasini just doesn't spark the back line, and I'm Brumbies all the way on this one. Brumbies by 3. Purely because which team is going to lose it the least? Because I'm not sure either team is actually going to win this game. It's a matter of who doesn't lose it more than the other. It's one of those sort of games for me. It's one. If you're going to miss a game this weekend, quality wise, this is one to miss.
Looking at the two sides, I would say Rebels have a better forward pack than the Brumbies, but then the Brumbies I think the Brumbies will have a better backline than the Rebels. And I say that because, I mean, they've got the experience of international players in the Brumbies side for the backline. And I think, what's his name now? The captain of the Rebels, former Force player.
Adam Coleman.
But anyway, yeah, the lock forward. But Adam Coleman, and yeah, he's led that forward pack. I mean, jeepers, from the front, man. And for me, he's been phenomenal for the Rebels as well. I mean, leading from the front, and his lineouts are very good. His kickoffs are very, very good. So, yeah, I mean, if the Rebels dominate up front, they can take this game. But Brumbies will have more firepower because now they're playing at home. So, yeah, I also go Brumbies, home advantage by 3.
And then we get into the last 2 games where we don't actually have the squads yet because they announce them in about 4 hours' time. So unfortunately, sorry guys, we can't give you any insight into the players. I can hear you, don't worry. We're all good. I can still hear you. So next up, we have the Stormers versus the Chiefs. The Stormers had a good, have been good at home this season, haven't they? Okay, so looks like Pillar's having a bit of a problem hearing me. But the Stormers had a great...
yeah, they haven't lost a game. But they've been bad.
Oh no, he's cutting in and out, unfortunately. Sorry. Yeah, away from home, the Stormers had a problem. At home, they've been wonderful. The Chiefs, as we've been talking about all season, injuries. But they've been getting the results until the Jaguares. So... Can they travel? I'm not sure. Let's see if we've got Pillar back and see what he thinks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, the Stormers have been good, very good, at home, that is. They've struggled when they've had to travel, but they've put in some good performances, at home. So it's been, and the Chiefs actually last week, I mean, losing against the Warriors, and where they've rested a couple of players. But I think some of the players had already flown into South Africa a week prior to the Jaguares game, and for preparations for this game. And Stormers, I think they won't change their side for the Chiefs. But yeah, I think Stormers have been brilliant, and I don't see them changing their team for this game, and I think there'll be a couple of changes from the Chiefs side for this particular game.
Yeah, I want to pick the Stormers because they've been so good at home, but my rule is always pick the New Zealand side, and that generally works. So I'm going to go Chiefs by 3, but not with any confidence. How about yourself?
I'm going Stormers. Home advantage. They want home advantage, and they haven't lost a game, so they're not about to lose this game.
Cool. And then we finish up with the Stormers by how many? How confident are you? 5. Okay. So still under a score. Just one score in it. Bulls versus the Sharks. Now, the Sharks had that good victory last weekend. The Bulls have been decent at home as well. Got blown away a bit by the Stormers last weekend, but at home again they've been good. This one's another one that's just going to be a titanic battle.
No, it's a big game. It's a big South African derby for us. Blue Bulls have been good, but last week they kind of seemed off a bit. They couldn't finish. The passes weren't sticking. Poor passing. Their scrumming was 50-50. Lineouts, they were all right. They weren't good, but on defense, they kind of missed a lot of tackles, which cost them a few tries. So I'm sure this week they would want to rectify that. And the Sharks looked phenomenal, man, last weekend. They were very dominant, good go forward ball, and they dominated up front, which has been something I've been noticing from the South African sides against New Zealand teams. This year, that is, they've decided to be more physical. And New Zealand sides are kind of struggling with that. For example, if the Stormers hit the Chiefs quite hard on this weekend, Stormers will definitely win. So this weekend, it'll be interesting to see how the Blue Bulls pack and the Sharks pack go at each other, man, from scrumming to lineouts to ruck time as well. So, because I think, the backlines are quite solid as well, both teams, actually. Pollard on the other side, you've got Lukhanyo Am on the other side. For the Sharks, it'll be interesting to see who they put on the wing. I think the Sharks will stick with the same team, and the Blue Bulls will also stick with the same team. And I think, Signup will be back this weekend in the front row, so that beefs up the Bulls' forward front row, because they were inconsistent last week against the Sharks. So that's a booster for them. For me, Sharks and Blue Bulls will be a titanic battle, basically.
And it's all
forward pack battle.
To me, it's going to come down to: was last weekend a one-off from the Sharks, or have the Sharks finally clicked this season and giving us what we expected them to do? Because at the beginning of this, to me, the Sharks have been the most disappointing team in Super Rugby. Not the worst team, but the most disappointing, because we know they can be so much better. So if last week is them finally clicking, then they'll win. If last week was just was a stage on their way to learning how to play like that, then I think I'm going with the Bulls. And because I'm not yet seen the Sharks do it 2 weeks on the trot, I'm Bulls by 3.
Well, because the thing is, it's inconsistency, basically. We look at the Australasian tour. One weekend they beat the Blues. Second weekend they're losing last minute against the Hurricanes. It's all about inconsistent. It's all about Super Rugby is all about consistency. So if you want to beat teams, on a regular, if you're beating teams on a regular, you build confidence. And once that confidence sets in, you go into games going into games fully confident and even if you're down by a few points, you still have that confidence of coming back. So for me, the Sharks have been inconsistent in their football. And if they can do what they did last weekend on Saturday, then yeah, man, they could beat the Bulls, but I don't see them beating the Bulls at home. I really don't see them beating the Bulls at home, and Bulls will be hurting as well. So they'd want to give their supporters something to shout about, and they play, home crowd advantage.
I'm Bulls by 3.
Yeah.
How many do you think Bulls by then?
Bulls by 7.
Bulls by 7.
If not more.
Whoa, okay, you're going big. So, I know you are a very busy man, and I've run out of time because you said, Paul, you have to be done in half an hour, and we are going to be smack on half an hour. So, Pillar, please let people know where they can get your wonderful content from.
Yeah, man, we are Grit Sports. We've got a website, www.gritsports.co.za. And then we also you can also email us on info@gritsports.co.za. You can find us on Twitter, grit_sports. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. We've got a YouTube channel where we do stories. We haven't done stories in a bit, but we look at all athletes from rugby, cricket, soccer, athletics, hockey, you name it. We look at telling stories, basically. That's our core business. And so we do a lot of things, including rugby, like chatting to Paul today. So man, that's where you can find us. We're looking forward to entertaining you on our Twitter handle and giving you live scores.
So Grit Sports is the best place on the internet for the stories behind of learning who the athletes really are and what makes them tick. Whereas Driving Maul,
Yeah.
we're all about predictions and opinion. We don't get this access to the players that Pillar does. So always up for good rugby chat. So do comments down below, smash that likes button, and obviously, and at the moment we're trying to build our audience. So please subscribe. What I've been told is social media is about clear calls to action, and if that's not clear, I don't know what is. Hit that subscribe button. Okay, thank you everybody, and enjoy whatever rugby you're watching this weekend. And a massive thank you to my guest this week.